UFC Fight Night Strickland versus Magomedov is coming up this weekend. And guys, today I have the top 5 fighters I will be cheering for, and I will tell you why. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to be cheering for my fighters, and I'd love to know if there's anybody on the card that you in particular will be cheering for. We're going to talk about all of that in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about the fighters I am cheering for this weekend, so keep in mind, these are not picks. If you are interested in the picks, I made a full card breakdown and prediction video. Anyways, the first fighter I'm going to be cheering for is Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee, he could be coming in and fighting anybody. This is not against his opponent. He could be coming in and fighting anybody, and I might cheer for Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee has had a very spotty record in the UFC. The reason that I'm cheering for him, and it's not like I'm like, oh my god, Kevin Lee, I'm a huge fan of Kevin Lee. I really want to see this guy come in and succeed because, like I said, he's had a very spotty record in the UFC. He's had so many, almost there fights where he's fighting guys like Charles Oliveira. He's fighting guys like Prime Tony Ferguson, and he's almost winning. He keeps almost getting to that title fight, and then in the result of that, he comes out with a 19-7 record. He left the UFC, had a fight, got an okay win, and now he's coming back, and they are absolutely feeding him to the dogs that were not Fakhretdinov. Excuse me, I always apologize. I always mispronounce his name. I apologize. He's coming back in, and it seems like the UFC might be using his name value to throw him to a contender in somebody that the UFC wants to promote and wants to push, because this dude, so far, has looked really, really good in the UFC, and I think he might be able to beat Kevin Lee. That's the problem. I hope Kevin Lee comes back, and I hope Kevin Lee passes his test with flying colors, and I hope that he can reinvent himself in the division. This is a big thing for him, and if Kevin Lee loses this fight, they could write him off, and I don't know if he has a full fight deal or a different amount of fight deal, but they could just cut him again, because Kevin Lee, they might be using his name value here, and I really hope he comes in, he wins, and he continues his streak in the division, kind of reinvents himself. How good would that story be? How good would that story be if Kevin Lee actually came in and was the guy to dethrone Leon Edwards? You know what I mean? I would be cheering for him. So I hope Kevin Lee ends up winning this fight next weekend, but the next fighter that I do want to talk about is Ismail Bonfim. It's not necessarily like I am a big fan of the Bonfim brothers, but I am going to be cheering for these guys because I absolutely love watching them fight, and it is a pleasure to watch the technique that we've seen from guys that necessarily haven't gotten the attention that they deserve. Us hardcore MMA fans, if you're watching this, I would imagine that you are a hardcore MMA fan. The Bonfim brothers, man, they've been looking really good, and we know about them, but I do not think they are getting nearly as much enough attention as they deserve. I'm very high on them right now, and I just want to continue to see them winning because they're looking better and better every single time that we fight them. And Ismail, I hope he gets a win over Saint Denis here. I don't have too much else to say about that, but the next fighter I do want to talk about is Ariane Lipski. She's taking on Melissa Gatto. A lot of people are high on Melissa Gatto. No matter what happens to Gatto in this fight, even if she loses, she'll have more opportunities in the UFC. But Ariane Lipski has been coming into this fight with a very, very spotty record, and Ariane Lipski has been very promotable. I like Ariane Lipski. She's coming off of a nice win, but before that, she has had a rough patch into the UFC. I worry about her being cut here, and I believe she has the potential to necessarily be a star in the flyweight division, so I hope she gets a win here. I hope she can take on Melissa Gatto. I hope she can beat her. She, like I said, she has potential in the division. I don't know why. It's just sometimes we see her, she's on, sometimes we see her, and then she just doesn't look good again. So, Ariane Lipski, I don't have too much else to say about her, but I hope she gets a nice win here. Now, let's talk about Damir Magomedov. This is his last fight in the UFC. This is his retirement fight. He's honoring his contract, which a lot of fighters don't do, and he's gonna leave the sport after this. I found it an absolute pleasure to watch the technique of Damir Magomedov into the UFC in the short time that he's been here. He's been in here for a while, but I mean the short time that we've seen him fight. He's taking on Grant Dawson. I have nothing bad to say about Grant Dawson. I just really hope Damir Magomedov can go out with a nice shine on him. He can go out on a high. Not a lot of fighters have the opportunity to retire on top, and Damir Magomedov has that opportunity in front of him right now. I believe he should be better than Grant Dawson everywhere, and I think that if he comes in hungry and not with, this is my last fight, I'm going to get a paycheck, he could get a win here. Whenever a fighter's retiring, I would like to see them, or especially if they're announcing that, hey, this is my last fight, I want to see them go out on top, and especially somebody in Damir Magomedov who I'm sitting here and I'm like, it's been an absolute pleasure watching the technique that this guy has. I loved his last 2 fights especially. I was cheering for him, and I'm going to be cheering for him in this fight. I hope that he can go out the way he wants with a win. If he loses, not a lot of people know Damir Magomedov, but he's going to kind of go out relatively unknown, but at least he can go out on his own terms with a nice win. He can go home happy with this. Now, one more fighter I want to talk about. I'm cheering for Sean Strickland over Abus Magomedov. The reason being, Sean Strickland, kind of like the same thing as Kevin Lee. He's been getting thrown into the dogs. This fight doesn't make sense at all in the division, and the UFC is obviously going to push Magomedov, and they might see something in him. You know what? The technique's there. The technique's there. He's looked good so far, but I don't know if he can take on Sean Strickland. But Sean Strickland accepting this fight and constantly taking on short notice fights, I hope that he wins here. I hope that he's rewarded for our entertainment, because we might not be having this fight. This might just be Magomedov taking on somebody relatively unknown. Sean Strickland's a name. He's putting himself out there. He's always entertaining, and he's taking on somebody that he can really, really hurt his reputation. If Sean Strickland loses this, he can lose his record, he can lose his ranking. He can lose his name value. A lot of people can completely overlook him and be like, oh my God, you lost this unranked guy who's just coming to the UFC. For that reason, I hope Sean Strickland gets a win. I really respect when fighters do that. Hey, I'll take on anyone, anywhere, anytime. Sean Strickland is living by that. I really respect that. I have him as a guy, and that's why I'm going to be cheering for Sean Strickland. So guys, fighters I'm going to be cheering for this weekend: Kevin Lee, Ismail Bonfim, Ariane Lipski, Damir Magomedov, Sean Strickland. Are there any fighters that you will be cheering for this weekend? Len, not picks. It doesn't matter whether or not you're going to pick him to win. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know if any of your favorite fighters are fighting on this card. I'd love to talk about it down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. On the screen right now, you'll have 2 Clenbat videos if you'd like to continue watching the channel. Check them out. I think they're pretty great. I will see you either there or in the next video, guys. Take care.